use it, but what the hell. I'm gonna say this first thing is like people are gonna hate me for it. So true. Walking on rice paper is way easier than walking on this paper because rice paper is almost like a cloth, right? And the trick to walking on that type of stuff, it can have a little pull to it. You pull this, it kind of tears a little bit easier, right? But essentially it's the same. And the reason what I'm talking about is when you do stealth walking, one of the key components is always toe to heel. So when one foot goes down, the other foot comes up. The reason you don't step with all the weight, because there's going to be a pull. And that pull is what's going to create sound. Now when you tatami mats are the same way because it's basically like woven grass on a tatami mat. So when you pull them, it'll make a sound as you go across. Or even if you pick up and you start to put down, the threads will pull apart if you don't put pressure here and lift one heel up as you lift the other. So by walking on paper, whether it's this kind of art paper that you can pick up at an art store, rice paper, whatever, but when you're walking on paper, if I put one foot down, if I put this foot down, it's going to pull the paper. And you're going to hear the crinkles because it's going to have, something's got to give. But when you put one foot down and you ease one foot up, you're not going to hear as much as you get going because it's going to, this side's going to be loose, this side's going to be tight. So I got all my weight here. So see how the weight of it's going to indent into the foot. Everything else is going to be able to come up. And then when you put your other foot down, this side's going to come up and this comes up. And that's how you stay quiet as you're going, or quieter as you go down the little page here, right? There's various different scrolls, documents, whatever, writings that talk about how ninja would walk on rice paper or walk on, rolls of paper to be able to stay light of foot. And if they could walk on paper and be silent, then they would be able to, obviously be silent on something that's not as extreme as paper. From a realistic perspective, living in 2020, right? Let's look at the fundamental lesson from this. The biggest thing isn't so much the silence. Because like I said, if you put this on this flooring or another flooring, you can make it silent by just putting flat paper on any different type of floor. What you really find as the skill is the transfer of weight. And what I mean by that is when we do all stealth steps, you guys have seen where I tell you guys I want you to point your toe and it's toe to heel, and as one foot goes down, this foot comes up. And then you take in the breath, and when you put the foot down, once you ease in and you put your weight on it and you raise your heel up, then the other heel comes up, right? And I've always said that's the way you want to do like Shinobi-ashi, the majority of stealth walks. That's about transfer of weight, toe to heel, toe to heel. The reason you see that is because if you don't, you rip the paper. So if you rip the paper, 100% you fucked up. Like it doesn't matter the floor. This floor, another floor, we put it on something really silent. If you rip the paper, you have done the stealth step wrong. Okay? If I walk like a normal gait, most people walk with their heel to toe like this. If you put heel down on paper, you've now ripped the paper. So it teaches you to not walk like that. If you're being tracked and you watch heel to toe, everyone's going to see the impression of the soles of your shoes, because modern day shoes or boots or rubber, hard rubber, they have a hard 90-degree angle on the sole, and it's very easily to be tracked when you're out in nature. Even if you're in an urban setting, people can track that depending on what's on the ground, right? It's very obvious that's not nature, right? So when you're walking silently, or secretly, or concealed walking, silent walking, ninja walking, whatever word, is your fancy, I guess. You want to go toe to heel. If I put my toe and I ease into it, that means when I'm here and I ease, if this foot comes up, I've moved my weight now on this one foot. I'll inhale, I put my foot down, and as this foot comes down, this one comes up. And this is an important aspect to training. Now, I'm going to tell you why that's important with the paper. Toe to heel, move the weight. Toe to heel, move the weight. If I do this, if I've got all my weight on this foot, paper will flex where your weight is, right? So if I put my foot here, and I step down, and now I'm 50-50, the paper won't raise, and you're going to pull it, and you're going to tear the paper. Did you catch what I mean? Right. That's why the paper doesn't rip. If you distribute your weight properly, you should be able to walk on paper without ripping or tearing the paper. If you don't distribute your weight properly, you will rip the paper.